Hey everyone, thanks for listening to the Western Hunting Hub podcast. This episode I have Drea on, and we kind of catch up a little bit about her fall and just some of the crazy things that have happened this fall for her. And she tells a little bit more of a personal story of yet another kind of a crazy thing that's a part of her story. So pretty personal, and probably can be taken a few different ways, but you can see the impact and what it had on her. So we decided we wanted to tell this story, maybe a little bit of the dark side of hunting camp. Drea, thanks for jumping on the podcast with me. And any listeners that haven't been around for a while or are new, this is my friend Drea Grandgrath, and we've been communicating and teaming up and hunting and doing a variety of things and staying in contact for some time now. And it's been great. Really enjoy chatting with you, catching up on your hunting through the fall, hunting through the spring, hunting year round now. And that's kind of the way it's been. It's hard to catch people sometimes because we're always going from one thing to the next. You're in Pennsylvania right now, having a little fun adventure with your boyfriend there and getting some hunting in as well, which is awesome. That take advantage of those travels is a great time to learn something new. And I'm sure the whitetails there taught you something. But yeah, how's it going?
Things are good. Thanks for having me on. It's always good to chat with you, especially on here, and be able to share stories with people. But it's good to be here in PA. It's nice to take some time after guide season especially to hunt for myself and to be able to enjoy that time. I feel like I've been working so hard the last 6 months. I was in Colorado previously, leading up to guiding in Montana, and I've just been hustling, just working so hard, getting ready for archery season in Colorado, and then going to Montana for rifle season. Life hasn't slowed down. So it's been really good to be here, and sitting in a tree stand for the first time has been a learning experience. It's been fun. It's been nice to just be able to sit and be still and be quiet and listen, because I've been needing that for a while. So it's been good.
Yeah, give folks just a little bit about kind of all your irons in the fire, what you do, what you're about. It's a lot has happened in the last 5 years of your life, and for even the last 2.5 since I've known you, that just a little bit here, a little bit there, and there's been a lot of successes along the way and a lot of challenges, and just kind of a little bit about what you do, as in Ridge Patrol, the guiding, the this, that. Kind of give everyone a little bit of what you got your hands in.
I think about that a lot. I'm like, wow, life just doesn't seem to slow down. I've always been an opportunist, and there's been some pretty great opportunities that have come my way in the past couple years. And I've really spent, ideally, I guess, the last 7 years on focusing on just myself and trying to sort of pave my way in this industry, and just healing from some past trauma and such. So I've got a lot of irons in the fire right now. Like you said, I'm working on a book. Actually, it's a inspirational memoir, and I'm in the process of editing that right now and finishing up. Hopefully that will be going on pre-sale here in a couple months for people to be able to purchase through audiobook or purchase a paper version of my book. So busy working on that. I am the co-founder of Ridge Patrol. It's a women's specific hunting and outdoor clothing line. We are fairly new. We were a year in August, so we're going on, I guess, almost a year and a half in business. As a co-founder, I test out all the gear. I wear all the gear in the field all the time. And with being new, we are limited as to what we have. But 2023, we have a new product, couple pieces coming out. They won't be available for purchase for a couple more years, but we're working on some really awesome prototypes on a piece of clothing that is not in the market yet. So very exciting stuff there. So some new things coming to the outdoor women, whether you're a hiker, a skier, a hunter, a fisher, or you just love to get out and camp, whatever it may be. That is our focus there. I'm also a hunting guide, so I was guiding in Colorado for 6 years, and then this past fall ended up going to Montana, chasing an opportunity there with Upper Canyon Outfitters, a phenomenal outfitter that's been in the business for a long time, family owned, and had the opportunity to guide for them this last fall, and fell in love with Montana so much that I moved back to Colorado to grab my things, and I will be claiming residency in Montana come March once I've been there for 6 months. So,
man, that's a big change.
Yeah, a lot going on, a lot of really good things. I've always wanted to live in Montana ever since I was a little kid, and just life happens. I believe timing is everything, and there was just a lot of things that sort of happened and came together this last fall. And it was just the perfect opportunity and perfect timing to go. And I did. I kind of followed that instinct, that gut instinct, and that intuition that I've been feeling for a long time. And I'm excited now to be in Montana and meet some like-minded people there and sort of build a community near the Bozeman area, just a couple hours from Bozeman, but kind of in that area.
Yeah, that helps catch everybody up, and so we're going to jump right into some situation stories, whatever things catching up over the fall. And I'm going to challenge you with a question: what is the biggest "holy crap that just happened" hunting moment of the fall?
Build with a client or just in general? Just in general,
like with an interaction with a wild animal. I don't care if that's an owl or an elk. Just like, what was the biggest holy crap that just happened?
Let's see. That's tough. That's on the spot.
I know, and I didn't want to tell you ahead of time.
Let's see. I was in Montana, grizzly country. Didn't see any bears except for one black bear. This doesn't pertain to an animal, but I had a client blow out a knee on the mountain, blew the meniscus, the ACL, and another part. And I mean, luckily we were in an area where we had service and we were able to call back to camp. But he was persistent. He was like, no, we're going to hunt. We're going to go down this mountain. And I'm like, that's not happening because I'm not going to be able to carry you off this mountain. You're not going to be able to walk. But within that 400 yards from the road to going down the mountain, his knee just completely blew out. And it took us like an hour to get back up the mountain. Nothing super crazy with animals. I had a very successful season. I got every single client an animal except for one this year. So that feels good.
And it was at the blown out knee. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
So good excuse.
Yeah.
So that makes you feel good. Like I understand that very much. You got people that are relying on you to put them in front of animals, and even though they aren't paying to harvest an animal, they're paying for the experience. I think you told me that once, right? That sounds familiar, like you said something like that. But they're paying for the experience, the hunt, this and that. You're not paying for an animal. If you pay for an animal, you go to Africa or go down to Texas or shoot something in a high fence area. You're paying for the animal. But you set these like personal goals for yourself and that pressure on, I got to get this person an animal, despite it being despite that person having a tag and wanting to get it done. You want them to have that tag filled, whether happens right away or day 5. But I understand that very much. You want to get them filled. So that's an accomplishment. Good work. Okay, so that was one hunt in the fall. So what was the rest of your fall like for hunting for yourself? I know the guiding has been something that's it fills your time majority and your time in the field. But what about yourself? What was on the docket?
I actually want to go back. I want to combine this question and the previous question that you asked of me. And so I had a crazy experience this year. I took an opportunity last I suppose it was last winter with an outfitter in Colorado. And essentially I was taking over a management position of their 2 remote cabins where I was booking all of the hunts. So that includes all like the customer service with that, working with the clients, getting them set up with their hunt. That meant getting them their tags, helping them get their tags. I spent hours on the phone with clients, just helping them make sure they're putting in the right points, the right units, you name it. Once spring came, it was time to clean the cabins, cut all the firewood, do everything. And it was a lot of work, a lot of hours. I spent a lot of my own personal money on chainsaws and gear for the cabins and was super excited. I loved having that responsibility. I felt like I was creating something for myself and for my clients. Like, it was a lot of hard work, sweat, labor, money, tears, you name it. And just hustled all through the winter and the spring and the summer, getting ready for that. Had a phenomenal first week of archery season with my client. It was probably the best week of guiding I've ever had as far as elk action opportunities. He shot at 3 different bulls and finally on the 5th day was able to connect with a 4th bull. And the bulls that he shot at were all misses. And so luckily no animals were injured, but it was so much fun. Every morning, every evening, we were in on the elk and just had a really great time. He was in great shape. He was like the perfect client, just like very positive. It was like, what's meant to be will be, Drea. Like, it's fine. Let's just keep going. We hiked about 10 miles a day and we got after it, and we had a really great week. He harvested a beautiful bull, and I was just on this high. I was like, yes, this is what I've been working towards. This is what I love doing. In that whole process, I had a standby guide, which was helping with glassing. So they would glass in the mornings and the evenings. They would help with Remy, my dog, because she stayed at camp. They were just like my standby go-to guide. If we got an animal down, they were there to help with the pack outs. They were there to help with cooking meals, keeping the cabin clean, you name it. Like I said, it comes back to that guest experience. I wanted to make sure I had enough help there and that my client was just having a good time. So we got back to camp. I believe it was like day 2 of the hunt, and my standby guide was there, and I was like, hey, can you run down to main camp? We need the chicken for tonight's dinner. Like, it was thawing down at main camp, and we needed some ice for the cooler. So I sent him down to camp to grab some things. Client and I, we were just enjoying the morning, shooting our bows after the morning hunt, relaxing, enjoying the porch views. And my standby guide came back to camp and was just like, hey, Drea, something really weird just happened. I want to talk to you about it. And I was like, yeah, what's up? And he had mentioned how when he walked into the lodge of the main camp, one of the guides there, who happens to be an older gentleman, I would say probably late 50s, early 60s, is also married. This gentleman, just him and I seemed to butt heads quite a bit. The very first time I met this guy, he told me Ridge Patrol would never succeed. So I already kind of was like, wasn't a fan, but I was cordial. I was professional.
That's a lot to say. That's a loaded thing to say to somebody.
Yeah.
You got to have some balls to say that to anyone, whether you know them or not.
And I sort of took it as like, okay, he's feeling threatened. Yeah, bring it on. Like, I'm going to show you. Like, I'll show you for sure. Ridge Patrol will absolutely succeed. So this gentleman made a comment towards my standby guide. He was like, my guide walked into the lodge and he's like, oh, what are you doing down here? Did Drea send you in for her dildo? In front of his wife, in front of the clients. Apparently the owner was there. Everyone I talked to after this had a different story on who was actually present or not. But regardless of the fact, he said that out loud to another person. I wasn't there directly, so technically it's not sexual harassment to me, but it is still a form of sexual harassment. And so that guide, the standby guide, was extremely uncomfortable, told me about this right away. And I was just like, what a piece of,
Yeah.
whatever. We've got elk to kill. I'm not going to let it bother me, because we were having a really good time just being in the elk. And like, I was hyped on that. I wasn't going to let it ruin my week. And I was able to sort of just like push through it and not let it bother me for a few days. First week of season is over. My client leaves, and the clients that come on in, which is the one that blew his knee out. Mm-hmm. I ended up just staying back down at main camp. I would sleep down there and then go up and guide them. But being down in main camp and being around that toxic energy there, and having to see this other guide, this older man that made the comment about me, like, I hadn't felt that feeling ever. Like, the last time I felt that feeling was back when I first started dealing with the sexual abuse that I suffered when I was a kid. And so some people there were claiming that I was triggered, like they were using the fact that I was triggered and that it wasn't a big deal. But like, I literally was sick. I couldn't stand being around him. I would just like hide in the cabin, which is unlike me. I'm a very like personable person. I really enjoy hanging out with clients and getting to know clients and being around them, and, being around the whole community sense of it. But I was so angry at this guy for saying this comment. And he had left a note on one of my Jeeps, like, regarding that I needed to talk to him first before putting my client who blew his knee out, before putting him at a stand. So since he blew his knee out, I wasn't able to hike him around. And so he hunted down at main camp, where I was able to drive him to a stand to sit for the evenings and the mornings and whatnot. And so I addressed the issue with the owner and sort of his business partner and his son that was in camp. And of course they were very apologetic, and we're like, we will talk to him. We'll let him know to come apologize to you. And I was like, well, first off, I don't want to talk to this man right now while we have clients in camp, because I don't want clients experiencing me in a piece of my mind, because I was really, really angry. I was like, felt very disrespected, very violated. And so they're like, all right, we'll talk to him. Turns out they talked to him, and he admitted to being a sexist pig, and everyone kind of just brushed it off as like, hey, he probably had a few beers and he just made a crude comment. Regardless of him having a few beers or not, like, that is not acceptable anywhere, whether it's in the workplace, in your friends group, like in your home, wherever it may be. And the whole situation just sort of was not handled professionally. And I ultimately decided that I needed to leave. So I would go into the main lodge, grab my dinner, and I would go back to my cabin, just because I literally was sick. I was nauseous. I was angry, and I didn't want to be around that toxic energy. So I ended up leaving that outfitter. I made the decision to leave for the final 2 weeks of archery season. I didn't have any guided hunts in the book, so I knew that was fine. Like, it was all self-guided hunters coming in. So they were essentially having to take care of themselves. And I told the boss, I was just like, hey, I can't be around this toxic person, and you guys aren't really showing me you're not really dealing with this. You talk to him and that's it. Like, there's no repercussions for him. And so I'm going to go, and I will be back for rifle season. And the way the things unplayed from there was just very unprofessional. Everyone kind of seemed to be, everyone was like a little spy. It felt like I felt like I couldn't trust anyone. I was talking to one of the employees. I tried to talk to him about it, but he was just like, I don't want to know anything. Leave me out of it. There was no like, hey, how can we help this situation? What can we do to make things better? What can we do to prevent this in the future? Like, what steps need to be taken to make this, like, what should we, like, how can we improve to make this better? So like, I was thinking about these clients who are coming in, like, what did those clients take away from that experience? I guarantee you not great things. Like, as sportswomen and sportsmen, as professional hunting guides, as people in the field who enjoy our public lands, and especially in the industry, like, we need to hold ourselves to a much higher standard of not what went down. Like, I think it's very important that we talk about these things, because I'm sure I'm not the only person it's happened to. I'm sure it's happened to other people, and they've just sort of shoved it under the rug. And so, yeah, that was very unexpected, but I've always been an advocate for taking care of myself first. And if I'm not being supported, especially in like a workplace, I'm going to go. So I ended up leaving, and a couple weeks later, headed out to Montana, where I had an opportunity of continuing to guide there, because I didn't want to just quit. I was like, I want to keep guiding. We've got rifle season coming up, so I'm going to see if there are any other opportunities out there. And ultimately found Upper Canyon Outfitters in Montana.
The perception of a scenario like that is so different with each party involved. And there's so many different pieces. Like, that sent you back to a pretty dark time in your life.
Yeah.
And to that guy, in his perception was, I probably shouldn't have said that, but it's not a big deal. And the main boss or owner was probably in that situation of, ooh, yeah, but let's just cover that up. It should just go away. And seeing those, they will never see, and same thing with anything I say that I don't mean to down the road. We'll never understand what those little impacts are and how that replayed over and over in your head. It sent you back to not a great time. So it's just a simple, I'm not downplaying it, but just one short, it took 2 seconds to say something, could be so damaging, because you never know where somebody's sitting. And perception is something I always brought up with my high schoolers, to really understand situations in life, that, and with my wrestlers as well when I coach, you need to understand that perception is different in everybody's eyes, and they're going to see things differently. So it's sad to see that it was handled in that way, and maybe not had that played out in a more, oh crap, that was, and taken that on by the person that said that and approached you. How do you see that going differently?
Yeah, things played out differently in that. Ultimately, I probably would have stayed there. I probably would have worked through that rifle season, and I wouldn't have left. But I honestly think it was a blessing in disguise to leave, because there were a lot of red flags throughout the spring and the summer, and I just sort of dealt with them because I knew it was such a great opportunity, and I've never been one to quit easy, and I love hard work, and it was a great opportunity to have. And so ultimately, I may not have walked away, but I'm really glad I did after.
Absolutely.
Life's crazy. These things happen, and like, we have the power to decide what we get to do. And there was just like, as soon as I left that place, I received an email saying, you are no longer welcome on the property. We are going to box up all your things, and we'll bring them to the bottom of the road for you to pick up. Like, you can't have any more communication with these clients, this and that. And I'm like, whoa, okay. For one, I was the one violated here. I have done nothing wrong. I have removed myself from the situation, and now I can't even come back up there to pack up my own personal belongings. That's not going to happen. Like, once that response came back from them, I knew for certain that I had made the right decision. And as soon as I packed up my things from there, this huge weight was lifted. And I was just like, wow, I have been holding on to like this like anxiety for so long, because each time those red flags would come up, it was just like, oh, fine, just deal with it, Drea. And it made me think about anyone else who might be in a situation like with their workplace or their relationship or whatever it may be, where there's just this underlining red flags, this underlining anxiety and like stress. And then when that's gone, it's like, wow, like, okay, what's next? Like, I'm going to use this to move forward and to be able to, just sort of move on from that.
One of the main reasons I asked you if you'd want to tell this story is for the sake of what the heck happens in hunting camp, or what the heck happens on vacation, where all ambitions just get thrown to the wind, and it's like, wow, we're in a new state, we're good, we can do whatever, or maybe the guys, because it wasn't the clients at the time. You had awesome clients, but it was probably that same sort of, we're away from civilization, that stuff's okay, or the bigger thing is they're professionals running a business. I would love to tell some of my customers that email and text me. Literally, that's a customer right now texting me and called me 3 times and texted me twice. And I said, I'm on the phone and I can't tell them. It's like, tell them, just leave me alone right now. You're distracting me. I need to have a level of professionalism and run my business and talk to them and be super kind to them. But, and that's not even close to the same example, but a level of professionalism, not just hunter to hunter, but in the field in general, so that level of perception, or the perception of hunters, is that we are good people. We're not a bunch of hillbilly rednecks, whatever, that are blatantly saying things and doing, and just not good people. So that doesn't really help the industry whatsoever. And so that was kind of the big thing. I really wanted to share that, and you see that occasionally. Where do the guys that make mistakes and do things they wouldn't do at home in their families? That guy was married. It was away from home. It's in that hunting camp. It's on a vacation. It's doesn't make any sense to me, and nobody ever talks about that as to why do ambitions go out the window? Why does that happen? I don't get it. And I kind of think that, I'm not even close to the situation, but I feel like that's kind of what happened there. Is he was with his buddies. He was in his element. He was in his element of, this is hunting camp, this is mine, this is what I run, and I can say and do whatever I want. And then you add money to it. I don't know if the guy's got money, but seems like that always adds to it, where they can buy themselves out of a situation, or control the situation in that way. And you just got the brunt end of it, of, okay, kicked out, exiled, no communication, nothing. Tried to cover that up, but here we are talking about it, which we agreed we weren't going to mention the names of the company and the guide, just for the sake of, it doesn't matter anymore. You've moved on, and it was a blessing. It was a great thing to move away from. So I don't know if you had any thoughts on that, why people lose their inhibition or lose their integrity in such a situation, or their professionalism.
Yeah, I've seen it a lot, where, these guys come into hunting camp and everyone's puffing their feathers. Everyone's trying to be the biggest man in the room. And some of my coworkers were trying to blame it on, oh, he must have just had a couple beers, and he said some crude comment. I'm like, no, this was 10 o'clock in the morning. He wasn't drinking. This was straight up just wrong. He admitted to being a sexist pig, to my boss's face, and everything was just kind of like, oh, it's no big deal, Drea. You've got to be tougher. You can't let one person's comment ruin your day. And it comes down to, I felt violated. I was disrespected. This is not okay. No matter if you work in an office space somewhere, or wherever it is, wherever your workplace may be, these things just are not acceptable. And especially as hunters, I feel like we really have to put in the extra work to prove that we're not just rednecks out there drinking beer, shooting animals from off a truck, that we have a really deep care for the animals we pursue, for the land, and working with an outfitter. Teamwork is essential in being able to have a good operation. And when that teamwork is not there, when respect isn't there for your coworkers, it's not going to happen. So I think it's just our job. Like you said, it's happened. It's in the past. Like, I'm essentially like over it. I'm not over it, but I'm not sitting here trying to place blame on the outfitter itself, but just more so like we keep saying, we need to set this precedent as hunters, as outdoor enthusiasts, you name it.
And probably a good reason to get references, chat with people before you go on to an outfitter.
Yeah.
That I don't have any experience with me personally buying a hunt, being a part of an outfitter, other than deep sea related stuff, and still have not had a great experience in my life with that kind of guide. It's just one, I don't have the money to dish out for a reputable one. I don't have I don't know where I sit with that. I got one of my best friends is down in Texas. We're going to go visit him this week, and it's a different style of hunting. And he talked about, well, we can go shoot a black buck, we can go shoot an axis, and I don't know. It's the different kind of deal because it's basically an unguided thing through an outfitter, where I just feel out of control in those such situations versus me applying for my tag, finding a place to hunt and going. And I'm not talking people out of a guided hunt. That's not the thing. I just, that situation of an outfitter is a daunting task to go find a good one. And that's why they got full magazines full. What's that, Colorado Hunter or whatever that magazine is? Just straight list of outfitters, and to find somebody that's quality, to find somebody that is going to give you a good experience, and it's on the hunter too to really help create that experience. You're not going to be that guy that just shows up out of shape, expecting a 350 bull to be standing there somewhere. You put the work in. I take the day I do go to an outfitter or do something or pay for something, I'm gonna take a play out of my buddy Danny's book that he talks about when he's on these hunts with these these outfitters. He's wanting to learn, he's wanting to chat, he's wanting to talk. He reads about the history in the area. He does his homework on the area, the people, the hunt, and when he's there, he said he feels so welcomed by the people, and he always gets comments about, yeah, we'll take you hunting anytime. We'll take you hunting anytime. Because when he's shooting his ibex or whatever, he just shot a chamois in Spain, and I guarantee he didn't care if it was a big one. He didn't care. He was there for the experience, and he didn't care if his ibex was broken off or not. Didn't care. That was not the important thing, and he didn't get disappointed when he walked up and saw it was broken or this and that, like some clients do. I'm reminded by my very first and limited guiding experience I've had in college, working at a pheasant lodge that was very poorly ran and was not ethically done. And I've got trauma from that part of my life and things that I don't want to share that we did. It was not a great place. And I remember taking the owner out on a duck hunt, and it was lightning and thunder and rain, just downpour, like the perfect duck day. Perfect duck day. Probably the best duck hunting I've ever had, but I was laying on the ground, crouched down, just hoping not to get struck by lightning. And those rich dudes sitting up on their buckets, 6 o'clock in the morning with a cigar in their mouth, shooting their guns, and just that image is imprinted in my head that's not who I want to be as a hunter. That's not who I want to be as a client to some outfitter.
Right.
That's not what I want to be. But anyway, I don't know what I'm rambling on about, but it is not about me. So you left. That was a great thing. You're off to Montana, and it's been a great thing. What all happened there?
Yeah, so I originally found this job with Upper Canyon Outfitters because I threw out a post on social media, and this is one of the upsides of social media. Put a post out saying, current job didn't work out, looking for another guide position, open to traveling. And Karen, she was a fly fishing guide with Upper Canyon Outfitters. She reached out to me and was like, "Hey, Upper Canyon Outfitters is looking for guides. They're a very reputable company. I've worked for them for a couple years. I love them. They're great. And it's ran by a woman." And I was like, "Awesome." And she's like, "I'll send over your contact info." And so I ended up contacting them and went out to Montana for, I guess it would be for their rifle season. So it was beginning of October that I went out there. And so their rifle season is 5 weeks straight. And so they would do every 5 days, we would hunt. And then, so we were working 5 days and then we would have a day off. And then that next day our clients would come in. So we really only had like a day and a half off between the 5 days. And they offer elk hunts and then mule deer and whitetail hunts as well. So it's like a combo tag. And so I got my client my very first whitetail. That was cool to be on a whitetail hunt and see all that go down. And got several elk down, quite a few mule deer down. And it was quite life-changing. I am going to be writing about this experience in my book. This will sort of be the ending of my book. I went from, like people say you don't know how bad it is until you remove yourself from the situation. And that's how I felt like with the previous outfitter. It was just kind of like, all right, this is how things are done. I guess this is what it's supposed to be like in the guiding world. And to go to an outfitter that has been in the industry since, I might get this wrong, but like the early 1900s, like they have 5 generations on property right now, and it's been a family business forever, and that's what they're all about. They're about family business and just really good people. They have a really good staff. Donna, the owner, so it's Donna and Jake. Donna's on the board of Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, and she's quite the reputable woman in the hunting industry, and they're just really good people. She brought on a fantastic staff this year. She said it was her best year yet of employees, and it was just really amazing to go from one, like a drastic change from one to the other, and to be able to run around in completely different country than Colorado, and to have sort of that underlining, like, oh, is there a grizzly bear around the corner?
Yeah.
Like, it felt a little bit more wild. I heard the wolves several times. I was close to the wolves, but never actually saw them. Never saw any grizzlies, but we saw some sign. And so yeah, it was a really amazing opportunity. In the summer, they are like a guest ranch. So they do fly fishing, they do horseback rides, they do ATV tours. They have 800,000 acres of national forest that they are permitted to guide on, and they are the only outfitter in that area that is allowed to guide. And so you're not running into other guides or, other outfitters out there. And yeah, they're an outstanding company. I'm super happy. I'm going to be returning. I'm actually living on property this winter there, and then I will be returning as an employee in May once the spring season starts up. So be running around looking for some bears and turkeys for myself come springtime in May.
Oh, you've got some redemption there to pay to get on that bear.
Yeah.
What are you going to go hunting with this time? Because I know last time it was Henry Rifles that did that. You got that same rifle?
Yep, I've got a 308 Henry lever action, so I'm going to use that. Ideally, I want to do open sights just because I want to get in a little bit closer. But at the same time, I should throw a scope on there just because I want to make sure I'm making an ethical shot. But either way, I'm going to use my 308 Henry for that.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Man, that's a big change over the last little bit. And a little bit of segue. We've kind of covered some other things we wanted for our second episode, but the fact that this one's a little shorter is just fine. And what I'd like to do is get you on one more time or a third time, depending, and just kind of talk about some of those exact hunts, the strategies, the dive into those, and what made them so successful. being able to close the gap. But I keep thinking over and over again, you must be a absolute beast right now. How many animals you've packed out. How's your back feeling? I mean,
my back's feeling good. It's I was having issues with my knee during season, and they actually bring on a massage therapist. She comes in every week, and so I got a couple massages from her, and she really helped with my knee. It was just so many pack outs. And then if you think about summer, training all summer, and so my knees are where it's at. My back's feeling good. I'm feeling strong. Definitely feeling a little bit of holiday weight right now, but that that happens.
Well, you've got plenty in the docket to shed that if you're wanting to, and
I'm looking forward to spring's going to be shed hunting. There's the elk literally live, like the elk don't migrate in that area, so they're like in our backyard all the way through the spring until summer when they move up. And so we're going to have really, really good spots to be able to go out. They have a couple private land leases that we can run around on as well. So I'm not worried about it. It comes down to the lifestyle. Everyone always asks me, oh, how do you train for hunting season? Well, I don't really train.
You just do it.
It's just do it. Like every month is a different adventure, whether it's shed hunting or a bear hunt or whatever it may be. So
yeah, well, that's awesome, and I'm excited for you to in May. Is it the photography thing we're talking about that you were going to be going back and do for him?
Yeah, so it's not like a position that they have right now, but it's a position they've been looking to fill. So I essentially will be their on-site photographer throughout the spring and summer, documenting fishing trips, horseback rides, whatnot. And I would handle like their marketing and social media, some blogging. And so sort of everything that I have been working towards with Ridge Patrol and with my own personal blog, sort of taking over all of that. And I'll be able to have Remy with me at work. So it'll be perfect. I don't have to have her locked up in a cabin all day. And it will be a great way to just sort of bounce around and learn all the different operations. They are in the process right now of sort of the owners are passing down the business to their daughter and husband. And so they're in a transition where they need reliable people to sort of take on these new roles. And I'm really excited to be a part of that.
Well, awesome. Well, thanks again. Why don't you plug real quick anything you want to plug? Ridge Patrol, absolutely. Your book?
Yeah, a lot of good things. Like I mentioned in the beginning, I'm working on a book right now. We will probably talk more about that on our next episode. But it's just as a little quick rundown of the book. It's just all about hunting stories, mental health, things that happen behind religious doors, paving my way in the hunting industry, you name it. It's just more of like a inspirational self-memoir book. Ridge Patrol, like I said, women's specific clothing line. We have some sales going on right now, actually. So all the way through this week, I'm not sure when you're posting this episode, but our hoodies and our jackets are on sale right now till Sunday. And so you can find us on Instagram, Ridge Patrol, or you can go to our website, ridgepatrol.com. And we have some exciting news coming out. We are working on a product that I have designed myself that is not on the market at all. And it is going to be geared and made for women. That is like our goal. And so no matter your body type, you are going to be able to use this product. And like I said, it's not on the market yet. So you can head to our website, join our email list, because we always let our email list know firsthand the things that we're working on, sales, new product, you name it. So,
well, I do need to get my wife a pair of pants or something. So I took her pheasant hunting she wanted to go, and my wife's not a hunter. She wanted birds. She doesn't care, but she's like many people that can't shoot anything with eyelashes, but doesn't want to shoot a deer, but said, yeah, let's go shoot some birds. So we went out, and I had nothing for her for bottoms. Nothing. So she's like, I ain't walking through that stuff in my leggings and whatever else. And it was not ideal for like jeans, and it's not that. So I had a pair of camo coverall stuff that would fit her fine, but too heavy and we got dumped on in snow trying to trek through that stuff. It was not long before I heard a few swear words and saying, I'm done. I don't know how you guys do this all day. You don't drink any water. You just keep going and going all day. How do you do this? I'm done. So I need to get her a pair of pants.
Better hop on that because we've got like one pair left.
That's what I was worried about, and I just realized that last week that it was like, shoot, I should have been getting her something for those random times. So if I miss it this time, I'll get the next round down the road of when you guys get that material back in for the pants. So, well, thank you so much again. And next episode, we got some frostbite stuff, some when your client isn't prepared stories. It's like mule deer elk hunt story, archery success story. And then, I'd love to hear some off-season tactics then for that. Well, we're in the off-season now, just some tactics that worked for you. So thanks again, Drea.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me on.
All right, we'll see you. Thanks, everyone, for listening to this. And the more I thought back on the whole episode and listened to myself and listened to Drea, the more I thought about how it applies to so many different areas of our lives as hunters and how we represent our community. It's pretty important to be doing it with integrity. Just another example of chatting with a landowner today where someone felt entitled to go right onto the property, under the high water mark where it would be legal, and he just threw some attitude right back at the landowner. Landowner wasn't happy, kicked him out of there because it was questionable whether it was under the high water mark and all this stuff, but just did not treat the landowner with any respect. Ended up just making it, he acted like he deserved to be there, and that's just a different type of example of having some professionalism as hunters. And I think this is a extreme example of Drea's where that was something in her career and in the workplace. But a lot of us hunters and interact with those folks while they're working while we're hunting. So I know that was a lot of rambling on my part. I don't know if it settled with any of you, but it settled with me, made sense to me, and maybe to that little kid crying back there or yapping back there. So anyway, thanks for listening, and got some good stuff coming for you. And I keep saying that, but making some more progress to keep those episodes rolling each week. Thanks again for sticking with us.
But it ain't my ground. This is God's country.